Hello and welcome to Incredible Crime Stories. We've all heard about the dangers of social media, but can they be helpful to even help solve a murder? It was the morning of February 14th, 2017. The residents of Delphi, Indiana, were greeted with unimaginable news as two bodies had just been found near the Mannon High Bridge Trail in this peaceful farming town with a population of just over 2,500. Murders were relatively uncommon, and even more shocking was the fact that these victims were just teenagers. The question on everyone's mind was why someone would have the motive to harm two teenage girls. One of the only clues the police had to go by was a video recorded by one of the girls on the social media app Snapchat. Would the grainy image and choppy audio be enough to bring their killer to justice? Two best friends Abby Williams and Libby German went for some sightseeing on the Mannon High Bridge Trail during an unusually warm February afternoon. Off from school to take some beautiful pictures of the scenery, when a family member arrived to pick them up, they were nowhere to be found. The parents began a search for the girls right away, as they hadn't heard from them in hours. The police soon joined in the search, but had to be called off late into the night due to bad weather. Many people thought the girls were most likely lost in the woods. However, there was obviously more to their disappearance when the bodies were discovered the next morning. As the investigation into the girls' murders began, they discovered that something very wicked and evil has happened to the two young girls. This case appeared to be one of the most shocking teenage murders in America. Libby was the more outspoken of the two, while Abby was more reserved. Libby was 14 and Abby was 13, and they both attended the Delphi Community Middle School, like almost every other teenager living in Delphi. Abby and Libby loved social media, and the girls would usually take pictures and post them on Snapchat. Therefore, it didn't come as a shock when both girls informed their parents they'd like to go to the Mannon High Bridge and click some beautiful pictures of that area. Libby's sister drove the girls to the bridge around 1:35 p.m., and they agreed that Libby's father would come back and pick them up at 3:30 p.m. When 3:30 came along, Libby's father Derek, who was supposed to pick the girls up, arrived at the bridge, but he didn't see the girls there, so he did the next logical thing: he tried to call Libby. However, Libby didn't answer her phone despite numerous attempts to reach her. Derek continued trying the girls' numbers for the next hour, but to no avail. By 4:30, it was becoming clear to the families that something was wrong. They decided to go out to look for the girls themselves. Their main concern was that the girls may have misplaced their phones or lost their way in the woods. Therefore, they began searching the whole area surrounding the bridge. As time went, the search continued without any sign of the two girls. The hope of finding the girls before dark started to wear thin as night approached. Libby's grandparents thought it best to inform the Indiana State Police about the situation. The police joined the families, and everybody searched frantically for any sign of the teenage girls. By midnight, the search had been called off due to bad weather conditions and the increasingly harsh terrain. When morning broke, the entire Delphi community was out searching for the missing teenage girls. Divers were brought in to look into Deer Creek, and police even brought dogs to assist in the search, trying to track the girls' scent. Hours later, a searcher found a shoe under the bridge, which was later confirmed, and this was definitely not a good sign. The searchers started to increase their efforts, and not long after, shock set in as the bodies of two female teenagers were found almost half a mile away from the bridge. From the way the bodies were positioned, it was obvious that they were moved there after they were killed. The families were devastated when they heard the news of the discovery, and it was confirmed that the bodies were those of Abigail Williams and Libby German. Once lively teenagers were dead, and the entire Delphi community was heartbroken. They had never had such a thing happen in their community before, but there it was unfolding before their very eyes, and the big question now was who did it? Nobody could make sense of why anyone would want to harm two young girls. The police commenced investigations into the double homicide to determine the killer. While going through Libby's phone, the police discovered their first significant lead. It was a Snapchat video in amongst all the beautiful pictures they took that she had posted a video at around 2:07 p.m. that day on Snapchat. The video shows where she can be visibly seen on the bridge with no signs of distress, but it was not this video that gave the police some answers. Libby had saved another video of what seemed like a man walking towards them, And in the video, the man can be heard saying some words like, "Guys, get down the hill." It was not clear what the man was trying to say to the girls. However, one thing was clear: this man surely knew something. The police released the video to the public on February 15th, with the hope of getting someone to identify the man. Shortly after, with the help of some audio improvement software, they released the audio along with it. By the 19th of February, the police announced that the man in the video was their prime suspect in the case. Based on the short video released to the public, it can be observed that the suspect is Caucasian, around 5'9" to 5'11", and of a slightly larger build. He wore a dark blue jacket over a flannel shirt and light blue jeans. Months later, and the case still opened with no end in sight, the police released the first composite sketch of the suspect in June of 2017. Based on the video, after the sketch was released, the case was stagnant for 2 years. Although investigations were still ongoing, there were multiple suspects in the case during these long months. Paul Etter, who had been wanted for the kidnapping and rape of a 26-year-old woman, was surrounded by police, and after a 5-hour standoff died by suicide. Another suspect, a registered sex offender from Indiana, was arrested, but was later released and not connected to the case. On April 22, 2019, the Indiana State Police released a revised sketch of the main suspect. This sketch was visibly different from the initial one released in 2017. It showed the suspect to be much younger, with curly hair and no goatee. The police also released an extended version of the audio that was found on Libby's phone to the public. The case went cold again for another 2 years, but in December of 2021, the police discovered something that proved to be a break in the case. They discovered a fake social media account that had communicated with Libby mere hours before the killings. The account had the name Anthony Schatz, but the owner of the account was a man named Keegan Klein, who lived almost 30 minutes away from the Mannon High Bridge. Keegan was questioned for the most part of 2022. However, the police failed to establish enough evidence to charge him. It seemed like yet again the police had failed to catch the perpetrator of this heinous crime. However, the biggest breakthrough in the case came on October 26, 2022, as the Indiana State Police finally arrested the man in the photo sketch, Richard Allen, a 50-year-old Delphi local, who lives on Whiteman Drive, only 3 miles from the Mannon High Bridge. Richard was charged with 2 counts of felony murder. The arrest confirmed initial suspicions by various people and groups that the killer may be a local hiding in plain sight. Richard's house was less than a mile away from Libby and Abby's school, and he and his wife have lived in the area since 2006. Richard's arrest was shocking to the locals. They didn't know about his past, and he even helped the family print the pictures for the girl's funeral without charging a penny. This makes this case more twisted than it already is. Richard was formally charged by the police on October 28th, and he pled not guilty, and his trial is set to start in March of 2023. We hope that justice prevails in this case. Justice for 2 teenage girls murdered by someone in a small, peaceful community in Indiana is still a mystery to many. Although we don't know the full details of Abby and Libby's lives, their deaths came in the most painful manner, and their families are still devastated till this day. Because of it, the actions of the killer, whoever it may be, have hurt an entire community. Recent news in this case against Richard Allen of Delphi, Indiana, was that the trial was delayed until January of 2024. Then on October 19, 2023, at a hearing, Judge Fran Gull announced defense attorneys for Allen, Andrew Baldwin, and Bradley Rozzi were withdrawing from the case. Allen new attorneys filed a motion to delay the trial, arguing it would be impossible to meet the July 2024 date. Allen's trial was pushed back until October 15, 2024. We can only hope that justice for the family of these teenage girls and the city as a whole will soon get their much-deserved justice. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and comment. Until the next story.